Welcome back to the Talk Your Tail Off podcast. My name is Vanessa, more commonly known as Girl with the Dogs, and for today, I am interviewing the most influential person in my life. I'd like to introduce you all to my grandfather, Pasquale Ramuno. Hi, Nona.
Good morning to everybody.
The reason why I'm interviewing my grandfather today is because this podcast isn't just about me and pets. It's also about entrepreneurship and following your dreams. Everything that I've learned about business, I've learned from my grandparents and my parents. And my grandfather, unbeknownst to him, was actually my biggest inspiration for starting my grooming business. First things first, though, you have a very funny story to tell about what happened to you yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
For those of you who don't know, my grandfather has a channel on YouTube called The Spicy Nona, and something very funny happened when he went to the grocery store yesterday. So tell your story.
Well, it was a big store, a big parking lot. I parked my car, and I forgot to look. You know, there's numbers, each sections. I didn't look, so I just went inside. When I came out, I couldn't find my car. So I started walking from one end to the parking lot, was going towards the other end. And then all of a sudden somebody said, "Spicy Nonna." I turned around, there was a man with his wife.
And he recognized you.
I said, "How do you know about Spicy Nonna?" Oh, he said, "We look at the video every day. And they loved my artwork. They congratulated me. And then I told them that I was looking for my car. They offered me and said, "You want to go in the car? We'll look for it." I said, No, I don't mind walking. I need the exercise. And then I had my keychain. I pushed some buttons there. And then I heard my car beeping. So I just followed the beep until I found it. I couldn't believe there. How can they recognize me just by looking at the video?
Well, how many subscribers do you have now on that channel?
Oh, it's over 125,000.
Yeah, so I mean 125,000 people watch your videos. Of course you're going to get recognized at some point, right?
Well, I never thought about it.
And Nona got recognized a few times when she was
She
out.
did, yeah.
Do you remember when I came to you and told you that I wanted to start a grooming business?
Yes, I remember that.
And what'd you say to me?
I told you not to do it.
Why?
Because I didn't think you could make a living grooming dogs. I said you went to school to be a hairdresser. So why go into doing dogs? I didn't like it. Now I can't believe how good you're at doing. It's almost unreal to me.
So one of the reasons why he was my biggest inspiration is mainly because he told me he thought I wouldn't make it. And so I'm one of those kinds of people, when somebody tells me I can't do something, I need to prove that I can do it. So I think I proved a little too hard.
Oh, you proved really good. You surprised everybody.
But enough about me. Let's talk about you. So I want to know about your early life. What year were you born? Where were you born?
I was born 1937 in a small little town in Abruzzo, Pacentro, in Italy. And my early life was really a simple life. We were kind of poor, and we didn't have any. We didn't even have a fridge, no sanitary, no toilets, no water. We had to go outside and get the water. That's in the early days. Then things got better later on, but at that time, that was my life. It was very simple. It was a pretty big family. We are 8 altogether.
I actually visited the village. Is that what you would call it?
Well, it's a small town. It's not a village, it's a town.
I think
It's a medieval town.
It's a medieval town, but I think for anybody coming from North America, going to Italy would think that that's a village when you look at it. It's almost like a castle on the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere, all made out of stone.
Yeah.
And in Pacentro, that's what it's called, Pacentro is the town, you can go there today. You can actually rent Airbnbs and stay there. And it's a very, very nice little town. It has a beautiful fountain. You can get ice cream there, food. They really did it up nice, but there's still quite a few houses that are still extremely medieval looking.
They still are, because it never changed. Our town has very, very few new houses. It's mostly the original. That's hundreds of years ago.
They're all original houses, but a lot of them are redone inside. So they look...
Inside, but the exterior, you cannot change the exterior. You have to get permission. Even if you want to open a window on a wall, you have to ask permission, because it's kept as medieval as possible.
It's a very beautiful town. I highly suggest anybody that's going to Abruzzo, Italy, to check it out. It's really cool. And I was specifically able to see the house that you grew up in. And while I was there, I was kind of imagining my grandfather as a little boy running through the city.
Yes, not only that, but that was our, as growing up, we didn't have no TV. We didn't have any, we made our own games. We used to play games like running, like you said, all over the city. They have to find us. And these are, that's how we spent our childhood. We made our own toys, our own games. And we were very free as kids. We were not worried about car running us over, about bad people coming into town. It was all different life.
I'm assuming at that time you had more mules and carriages.
Oh, there were not just mules and carriage. There were all kinds of animals, like sheep, cows running through the town.
It sounds like I should have been raised in that era. It sounds like I would have
Yeah.
appreciated that more.
Yeah, and every day, every morning, the town had to be cleaned, because the animals run through the town.
They poop.
They poop all over the place, right?
Yeah.
You have to.
But there was no cars.
No cars, no nothing. No.
And when you were 6 years old, that's when World War II happened, right?
Well, yeah, in 1943, 44, I remember many little things that happened to me personally. First of all, I remember being scared of the airplane flying low. Because the plane they go to a big city, but they go through our town. I was hungry all the time, because there was not much food. But the worst thing is when the German came, they kick us out of the town. We had to evacuate. And we had no transportation. We had to more or less walk everywhere to hide. I remember we went to another town where my mother was born. Took us 4 or 5 hours to reach there during the night in very cold weather. I remember certain things, but I don't remember everything.
When I went to Picentro, it's already out in the middle of nowhere. And that's today's day and age, where a lot of things have been established in Abruzzo since. So I can't imagine even walking from Picentro now to somewhere else that has civilization. That would take forever. So I could only imagine back then, when there was a lot less, how long that would have taken to get anywhere. And you were very high up on a mountain, so you'd have to walk down that entire mountain at 6 years old.
No, actually, we had to walk even higher to go to Santa Eufemia a Maiella. It's a small little town. That's where my mother was born. To go there, we had to go up the Maiella mountain, and then go down, and then go to her town. And that took us, like I said, 4 or 5 hours walking. Because don't forget, my mother had my brother was born in January of the same year, 1942. And imagine the trouble we had.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So that taught me to hate wars.
Why did they make you evacuate your town?
Because, the German came there. The soldiers took over the town.
But what did they need the town for?
Well, they need the town to make sure that they were safe there. So after we evacuated, then we got orders that we could return, but we had to register. Every person had to be registered. How many people in the family had to be registered? And then we could return, which we did after a while.
During that time, you said yourself and your family were starving. So tell me a little bit about why you couldn't get food and what you had to do just to be able to eat.
How to get food, I really don't know what they did. I don't remember.
You told me the story once that you found tomatoes.
Oh yeah, at night, the kids, we were looking for food all the time. Huh? See, let's go there, maybe there's some food there. The one time we found a table, in winter time, you put tomatoes on the table that last for the whole winter. And we see some tomato there. Some of them were rotten. We start eating.
It didn't matter that they were rotten.
Doesn't matter.
They probably still tasted good.
Tastes not too bad, but...
And so that's your life growing up when you were young and your experiences of the war. But you continued to grow up in Picentro. So what did you do as a child growing up in that town?
The first thing I wanted to do was, there was in the town is an artist, his name was Giuseppe Avolio. He had a shop where he made ceramic. So I want to go work there because I love to work with clay. And I've been there, I worked there until I was 17, until I came in Canada. That was my, I didn't go anywhere. All I did was almost after school, I went there and worked all day in the shop. And of course, I also learned music, play accordion. Then I played the flicorno. It's like a flugelhorn. I played in a local band, and I played the music with another guy. Played that. We had a little orchestra going on. That was my childhood. That's how I spent all my time.
And then when you were 17, you came to Canada.
17, I came in Canada, yeah.
Why did you come to Canada?
Well, because I finished my art school. I finished when I was 17. I couldn't go on. I could not carry on school because I had my father couldn't afford to go to university. My brother was already in Canada, so he sponsored me. And my brother and my sister, they were already here in Niagara Falls. So they sponsored me, and I came over here to make a living, to change my life, because I could not carry on living in Italy. And there was nothing for me to do there. So I came here, and then when I came here, I sponsored for my brothers and sisters, and they came over here after me. So my whole family was here except for one. The youngest one stayed in Italy.
And she's still there.
And she's still there, yeah.
I met her when I went 2 summers ago.
Right.
And your parents stayed there as well.
My parents stayed there, yeah.
What was your father doing for work? Why did he stay?
Well, at that time he was retired.
Oh, okay.
Well, was not really, but was working for the city. Maintenance and working, cleaning up, things like that.
If all of their kids came to Canada, why didn't they come to Canada?
Well, because my younger sister had a boyfriend there. And she didn't want to leave him.
Did she marry him?
She married him.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So they stayed just for the youngest.
For the youngest, they stayed with her because they didn't want to leave her alone there. See?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you came over on the boat. How long did it take to, obviously there wasn't planes then, so you took a boat to Canada.
Yeah, I came with Andrea Doria. That was the name of the boat. It was a nice little boat. I didn't have much trouble. Just a couple of times I got seasick. But I overcame there because I brought my accordion with me in the boat.
So you played music the whole
time? I played music all the time at night. Everybody was listening to play music and singing. And
so was it like a little party on the boat?
It was party all the time, for me anyway.
That sounds like fun. Where did you sleep? Did you have rooms?
No, he had a little cabin, but it was very small. And we slept there. Other people too were sleeping. And was not very good
Sleeping arrangement?
arrangement. It was, it was a small boat.
How small was this boat if it's coming from Italy to Canada?
Oh, it was big enough, to cross the ocean. But it was okay. I have no problem.
And when you came to Canada, what did you start doing with your life?
Well, when I came to Canada, I started looking for a job as an apprentice artist, but there was no job to be found. So I had to go work to make a living, right? My first job was in a factory where they make gloves, 40 cents an hour. And the boss said, if you want to make more money, you got to work overtime. You got to work piecework. Piecework means you got to go faster. The more you make, the more money you make. The more you produce, the more money you make. Piecework. But that was not my inclination. I want to be, I said, I'm going to be a house painter. At least I deal with paint, So I became a house painter. I found a job as a painter. I've been painting a house. Then after I got married, I went to paint in the hospital as a painter in maintenance department. And I painted there until I retired. In the hospital, I worked there for 26 years. But when I was painting there, in my spare time, I did sculpture work. Then my kids, they all pushed me to open up a museum at the place of business.
We'll get a little bit more into detail about your wax figures, but let's rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the audience wants to know, how did you meet Nona, your wife?
Oh, as I told you, I had my own band here in Niagara Falls. I was playing accordion, and then I made my own band, and we were playing for weddings. So at the wedding, I see this nice, cute little girl. She was a bridesmaid, and she kept smiling at me when I was playing music. And that smile hooked me up.
That's all it took.
That's all it took. That smile she had, I had to meet her. So after I stopped playing, I went and meet her. And that's how I got to know her.
And you guys got married how long after that?
Oh, then after that, I was working in Toronto as a painter then. And every weekend I come back in Niagara Falls and meet her at the church. She was going to church every Sunday. Yeah? Every Sunday I met her at the church and I walked her home.
That was your date?
That was my date.
And were you guys alone when you walked her home, or was somebody else?
No, I was alone with her.
Oh, wow.
But one day her uncle seen us and he reported her to her father. So her father got mad at her. Say, who is this guy you see every Sunday? Say, you better break up with him or bring him home. I want to see who he is. I used to go serenade to her house too.
For dinner?
No, serenading at night.
Oh, serenading. I thought you said Saturday.
No.
You would go to her house and serenade her.
Oh, yeah.
So this type of romance doesn't exist today. Just want to throw that out there.
Back then, when I went to her house almost every weekend, and I was sitting on the sofa, but her brother was sitting on one side and her grandma was sitting on the other side. I could not sit near Nina.
You said one time you snuck a kiss.
One time when nobody was looking.
So you guys got married and then you had kids?
As kids, yeah.
And did Nona have a job growing up as well? Or when you guys were raising the kids, did she have a job?
Yeah, she had a job. She worked in the factories, making a purse, I think. And then she worked in the box factory. She worked all the time too.
So you guys were both working all the time?
Oh, yeah.
And then later on in life, after you retired from painting, you decided to open this business. So tell me a little bit about how that happened.
No, that happened because my son Dominic, he couldn't find a job. Nick was at school, Marie was at school. They were okay, but Dominic, he couldn't find a job because he didn't want to go to school. So we decided to find him a job, and we decided we have to find him a store, and we rented the store by the Minolta Tower, and he worked at the store as a gift shop. He worked there. Then when we saw that he was okay with it, then we said, well, we cannot rent all the time. We have to find a place of our own. We could not find any store to buy, but we saw a parcel of land abandoned on Center Street. The restaurant used to be there. They demolished the restaurant, and there was an abandoned lot. It was a really bad place. But we inquired about it, and we bought the land to build a store for Dominic, which we did.
And when you built the store, was your idea to just have a souvenir store? Who came up with the wax museum?
Oh no, the wax museum idea came later. We bought the store, just the lot to build the store. And we built the store. By the way, when we were building the store, a guy came to see me. He said, why are you building here? I said, well, I'm building to make a store for my kids. He said, I see that store there, that's mine. On the Center Street, he had the store there. The blackest day of my life when I opened that store there.
That's what he said?
That's what he said. He really scared me. He said, why was it blackest day? Because he said, nobody comes here for business.
To explain to the audience, Clifton Hill, this is around the area where you built. You built at the top of Clifton Hill.
Yeah, on top of Clifton Hill. This Clifton Hill, Victoria Avenue, and Center Street.
Right.
Center Street is the continuation of Clifton Hill.
But at the time, Clifton Hill was busy, and the top of Clifton Hill, which is Center Street, was not.
But later on, I find out why.
Okay.
After I built a beautiful store, and with totem poles, nice decorated. And guess what? People were coming just like if it was Clifton Hill.
Because they saw
Because
artwork.
at the time, nobody came, because where I built the store was dirty, abandoned. Who wants to go? Nobody would want to go there. That's why they didn't come. Not because it was a bad area. The area was beautiful. It's because the way it was abandoned. That's why nobody came. But after I built, everybody came. And everybody made money.
I was going to say, so that person that wasn't making any money, all of a sudden, because of you, started making money.
That's right. Everybody made the money because we cleaned up the area. We built nice. Then after that, after we built, my kids, Nick and Maria, your mother, they told me to build a museum there for my artwork.
And whose idea was it to do rock legends?
Well, because we had a rock store.
So it was a rock store before the museum.
Oh, yeah.
And that gave you guys the idea that you were going to start sculpting. Now, you had been sculpting in the past, but you never sculpted actual people,
No.
right?
No, I sculpted actual people, not specifically rock and roll people.
And had you ever done wax before?
Never.
So you just opened this museum and started making sculptures out of wax with no knowledge of how
No
to do it.
knowledge whatsoever.
And taught yourself how to do everything.
Yeah. I ask around to get ideas, but I never actually sculpted a wax figure
Before. It's a long process, but talk a little bit about how the process works. How do you start? How do you finish? But you don't have to go through every detail.
No, because it takes too long to. No, what it is, basically you have to make the sculpture in clay first. After you make the sculpture in clay, you got to make a mold, and then you got to pour the wax into the mold, and then you got to paint the wax, and you have to insert the hair into the wax, and insert the eyes, the teeth if it's the mouth is open, and that's basically the way it's made.
So you made all these wax figures. You guys built the wax museum. The wax museum in itself was a piece of art. The whole museum, every sector of it was a little different. There was one in stone, and that reflected the type of artists that were in certain areas. And you made how many wax figures in total?
A little over 70s. 70.
People keep asking, do you have Elvis? Do you have Madonna? He does have all
we
of
have
them.
Most of them, yes.
So eventually, if you go to the Spicy Nona channel, you can see videos of the different wax figures. You're only going to see the heads of these wax figures, and that's because, silly us, we did not film the museum before we took it down.
By the way, I have the film from other people. Other people did that.
Well, we need that film because we need to show it for sure.
Oh yeah, it's if you Google Rock Legend Wax Museum, you see quite a few films there. Some of them like it, the way they are.
Some people, everyone's a critic. Everyone's a critic.
But don't forget, my wax figure, I done most of them when they were very young.
Yeah, they look different today.
Today they don't look anything like it.
Yeah. But people that know those specific artists will know the way that they looked when they were young.
The old one, yeah.
It's the younger generation that a lot of people don't.
They don't know who they are, yeah.
That's why you're working on Drake currently.
Yeah.
Because that's better for the new generation. Everybody knows who Drake is.
Yeah.
You made this business, but you had to make a lot of sacrifices or potential sacrifices in order to start it. I remember you and Nona telling me that you basically put an apartment in the basement of this building just in case you lost everything, you'd have somewhere to live.
Well, yeah, in the basement we put the heater. There was a washroom there. Not too many things, just
the
basic, the essential. We had a hot water tank in case we needed. In case things went as bad as my neighbor told, that's where we would live. Because no way I'm going to lose all my sacrifice. We sacrificed all our life to build this place. And now we're going to lose it? No way. So I provided that we would never lose it. But I was really lucky enough that everything went well. We did really good. A lot of people came to see the museum. A lot of people go buy rock merchandise. The stores did excellent. And we did really good. So we didn't have to live there.
This little tiny souvenir store went from just being an idea to a wax museum to a rock store to a multi-million-dollar corporation.
Yes.
It's pretty impressive. You came all the way from Italy with nothing in your pocket.
No, well, I had the note that say how much money I own to give to the people who paid for me to come here. I had to borrow money to come here.
So you had negative
money in my pocket.
And this is what you built. And this business was your children's full-time jobs that provided them with incredible lives, all three of them, and their children.
Up to this day.
Up to this day. It's still running up to this day.
Running.
It's supposed to be sold sometime this year, potentially.
Maybe, eventually, yeah.
And at that point, my mother will finally retire. She's only 6 years old. And by saying only, I mean it's time. It's time for her to retire because she's been working there all her life. Now we're going to get into a little bit more detail specifically about you, because I think that senior elderly people have a lot more knowledge to give to the younger generations that sometimes the younger generation doesn't realize. So getting out of your life and your business and what you accomplished, we're now going to move on to some more in-depth, important questions. So my question for you would be, if you could go back at any time in your life knowing what you know today, what are some things or the most important thing you would do differently?
I'm a shy person by nature. I don't know if I was born like that or I became shy, I don't know. But If I could go back when I was a teenager, I would ask for help to help me overcome my inhibition to talk in public. I couldn't speak up in public. Even this interview right now, if I was in my old days, I couldn't have never done.
Well, I had to convince you to do this.
Yeah, even though I still didn't want to do, but somehow in my old age I overcame the fear of talking. But even not too far ago, not too long ago, I still was afraid to talk. When I built my building, I had to go talk to City Hall, and I was shaking every time I had to go in. But eventually, by doing that, pushed me to overcome it, because the more you talk about it, the better you get. What I like to tell the people, advice to young people, if you have a problem with shyness, talking to people, please get help. Because if I had the help I needed, things could have been different for me. I was scared to talk about my artwork. Even now, I cannot take a compliment. Somebody compliments me, I get upset. I can't take it.
I think what you're describing is anxiety.
Anxiety, yeah, probably.
Anxious. And back when you were younger, there really wasn't.
No, there was no health.
No mental health.
No mental health help.
Correct.
Everybody tried to do the best they could. That's about it. The people don't recognize in the old days, especially small little town, they don't recognize why you are like that. There's some mental health problem that they know about it.
But it's true, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
The easier it gets, yeah.
So my advice, and I think what you're trying to say is, even if you feel a certain way, for example, you have anxiety about doing certain things, if you force yourself to do it, it does get easier.
It gets easy. You overcome your problem. You have to face
what's bothering you.
What's bothering you. By facing it, helps you overcome it.
And if you look back on your life, we're talking about the things that you would have changed, but looking at it, what are you the most proud of?
First of all, I'm most proud of my family. My wife, my kids, we all work together. We never had any fight about anything. We support each other. And all my kids really, they work so hard when they work at the store. It's unbelievable. You wouldn't believe how hard they work. Sometimes double shifts, 16 hours. Because we worked hard, because it was needed to do it. And for that, I am really proud of my kids. Proud of my wife, my kids, proud of my family.
I want to derail this conversation for a second, just because I don't want to forget to ask you this question.
Yeah.
But your mother, we didn't talk about your mom.
Yeah.
Your mom died when she was how old?
107.
And how old were you?
When I was in the 80s, she died, yeah.
So you had your mom well into your 80s.
Yes.
That is pretty amazing.
And not only just me, but my older sister, my older brother,
Yep.
and the other sisters. We all over 80. And we were all at my mother's 100th anniversary.
That's crazy.
And I remember we were sitting there at Sulmona to get a bus to go where my mother was, because she was living with my sister in Tocacasauria. And at the bus station was an older person sitting near us. He asked, "Where are you going?" Because we were all there, all my sisters. And we were all old.
All in your 80s.
All in the 80s. And he said, "Where are you going?" He asked us. He said, we have to go to my mother's birthday. He couldn't believe it. Your mother's birthday? Yeah. How old is she? 107. He couldn't believe it. I said, all my family is dead. And I'm not 80 yet. Yeah, I'm alone.
At 107 years old, all of her children were still alive, and they
Still
were
alive.
all in their 80s.
Yeah, we're all alive.
That is a dream that I think any mother in this world would never believe that they would be
Yeah.
able to attain. That's incredible.
Yeah, we were lucky that way.
Extremely.
My mother was really good genes and
Clearly.
strong. Yeah.
Hopefully she passed that on to me. That would be great.
Well, you never know. You could have it.
So we only have a couple more questions left before this interview is over. The next question is, what is the most important thing you learned from your life?
The biggest lesson I learned is there is 3 commandments. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the commandments of life. You got 3 commandments, and you must not break those commandments to have a healthy life. It's 8 times 3. Now, you want to know what those commandments are?
Yes.
8 hours sleep, 8 hours working, 8 hours enjoy life. If you do this every day, you're going to be healthy mentally and physically.
So spend your time wisely.
That's it. That's the lesson I learned. But guess what? I broke those commandments because I work all the time.
And last but not least, how would you like to be remembered?
Oh, that's it. I like to be remembered the way I am. Humble. I love as a family man. My family comes first. And I do anything for my family. I help everybody if I can. And that's the way I would like to be remembered.
Well, everybody that knows you will most definitely remember you that way. I am so fortunate that social media became a thing in my life, because otherwise I don't think we would have filmed you and Nona doing all the things that you've done. Being able to look back at those videos years and years and years from now, if I have kids, my great-grandchildren, they will all know who you are.
Yeah.
They will all know who Nona is.
Well, for that I thank you for this interview. If I can help people listening, I'm glad to do that.
You're an inspiration. This man can garden, he can do artwork, he can play music. I think it would be easier to list the things that you can't do than to list the things that you can. What can't you do? You even did the bookwork for the business for years, all the payroll. Is there anything that you can't do?
Well, I cannot stay online.
You cannot wait in line. He meant wait in line. He's very impatient.
I go in the line, I go in the bank, I spend maybe 10 minutes, and then I can't take it no more, I leave.
That's it. That's the only thing he can't do. He can't wait in line.
I have no patience waiting.
Well, thank you, Nona, for being a guest today.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so happy to share you with the world. That's it for today's episode. Tune in next week for a very funny episode where I interview a former employee. She's going to spill the beans of what it was like to have me as a boss. This is going to be one hilarious episode that you do not want to miss. Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Nona, for being a guest today.
You're welcome, and thank you for the interview.
If you want to see more of my grandfather, be sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel, The Spicy Nona. He is also on Facebook, as well as Instagram and TikTok. I'll see you all next week for another episode of Talk Your Tail Off.